Hey, Defying Gravity Volleyball family, it's Coach T, and I'm here with another video to teach you how to coach volleyball or just get better at the sport. Today's YouTube video is all about creating your tryout plans, and that is a huge deal when you're trying to create a program that matches your coaching philosophy. So let's get right into how you can create your very successful volleyball tryout plan. Your first step in creating your tryout plan is going to be choosing your area of focus. Now, to make it a little bit easier, I've already added 4 key areas that you should already have in your tryout plans, which is setting, hitting, serving, and passing. Even though those 4 areas are pretty obvious that you want to have that in a tryout to see how athletes would do in the key points of volleyball, it's really important to do it because some athletes might not excel at serving per se, but they might have really strong setting abilities, and you would be able to see that through those kind of drills. So just making sure you're hitting each 4 key points, you'll be able to get a lot of information. Next, I would suggest that as a coach, you start thinking about your own coaching philosophy, and that could mean what kind of programs, culture do you want to create at your school. For example, my coaching philosophy would allot for me to be looking for athletes that have mental stamina. So if they make a mistake, they can quickly shake it off and keep going. But also, I'm really, really looking for athletes that want to improve in the sport of volleyball. And it's not just a fun little thing for them to do. They want to be a part of a program and a culture, and even after they graduate, still want to come back as an alumni. Some ideas for coaching philosophy to add into your tryout plans could be agility, stamina, coachability, communication, mental toughness, sportsmanship, team chemistry. There's so many that you could come up with that could help you think of more drills to look for that in tryouts. Because if you don't know what your own coaching philosophy is, then it's really hard to know what you're looking for in tryouts, because how are you going to pick people that would look like that? Our second step is going to be choosing drills. This is actually a really easy step because Google is a thing, and there's a lot of drills that you can use on YouTube or just Googling passing drills, setting drills. A really key point to think about when you're choosing drills is to think about your program's experience level. And for me, there's 3 levels to your program's experience level. So it could be new beginners, it's a whole new program that just got started, they're still figuring out how to play volleyball. There's that middle ground where they have a little bit of experience, but they're still developing that program. And then there's the really experienced athletes that are really developed volleyball program. This is really important to know your school's experience level, because if you're picking drills that are for athletes that are looking to play in college when your school's program is brand spanking new and no kids ever touched a volleyball, you're not going to get a lot of good notes that you can put back for tryouts, because it's not their experience level. So that's why that part's really important. Before we can actually get to writing our tryout schedule, we have to think about what are our tryouts going to look like time-wise. So is it a multi-day tryout schedule? Is it double sessions? Are new and returning players mixed together, or are grades separated? Those are really important things, because you also have to pick drills that will appease a large amount of people, a small amount of people, or multiple days. So that's our last step. Now the super fun part, writing out the tryout schedule. Yeah. I mean, it's not fun to do work, but this is really important, and it's worth it to write out your tryout plan. This will be worth it, even though it's a little tedious, it's worth it. So let's get into finally the third step, writing out our tryout schedule. I typically use Google Docs just because it saves my work as I'm going, but any writing document will suffice, I'm sure. It looks really simple like this, a very simple timeline with times, the drill, the goals of the drill, and then the next timeline. So it's minute by minute tryout schedule. And thankfully, before we started trying to write this out, we already thought about what we want our tryouts to look like. So we're going to hit our 4 key points. We're going to think about what we want to excel at as our own coaching philosophy. So are you a coach that really wants to emphasize serve, receive, passing? You're probably going to add in a few more drills with serve, receive, passing. For this example, I'm using my tryout schedule that I did last year, and it was a 3-day session. All of the athletes trying out were in this tryout session with me. So I had to think about how could I look at athletes that have never touched a volleyball before and not push them too hard, but still push my athletes that were returning for their senior year. So for my example, this is day 1 tryouts. So day 1, 2 hours of tryouts that I can do. And it's going to look like it's overly tedious. Like, why am I putting 3 o'clock to 3:15 and then 3:15 to 3:30? you actually need that. And it doesn't mean at 3:30, oh my gosh, stop everything we're doing, I have to follow my schedule. No, this schedule is for you and your coaches to be following along with. It has nothing to do with, oh, now I'm not following my schedule exactly on the minute dot. It's just to give you a rough estimate of, oh, I planned 20 minutes for this drill because I now remember I want to focus on this drill a little more than the other one that I did for 10 minutes. It's just a small reminder when your brain's already going. I started with 3 o'clock to 3:15. They're signing in with me. That's probably something all schools have to do. It might be in different ways, but kids have to be eligible to try out academically and physically. So that's a really important one I make sure to do. And it's a really easy way for me to be like, hey, I'm Coach T. Nice to meet you. What grade are you? It's nice to see you here. What got you interested? Can't wait to see you in tryouts. It just makes you more personable, and it's a lot less scary for kids when they see that you are a nice human being that just loves volleyball and is excited to show them about it. And it doesn't have to be as scary as they probably think it is. Then, for example, at 3:15 to 3:30, I have warm-ups and laps. That's another key thing that all teams should be doing to prevent injury. They should be doing some laps, and they should be stretching with the captain. So even kids that have never done a sport before, they'll pick up on social cues and they'll listen to the captains and say, okay, we're going to start stretching now. So I gave them 20 minutes for that. Then you can see 3:30 to 3:45 coach introductions. So I might just go over who I am again, let my assistant coaches introduce themselves. So these tryouts, I have them very fundamental for a reason because, like I said, they're all the grades mixed in together. It's my new and returning players. So the first day I chose to focus more on fundamentals, teaching proper passing form, setting form, serving. So I honestly like having multiple day tryout sessions because I can make each day something a little different of a focus. All right, now on to day 2. We still have all grades together, and it's still 4:45 to 7:45. So now I'm thinking about, okay, my first day I was very fundamental. They're hopefully going to remember all that I told them yesterday and worked on it when they went home. So now I'm going to think a bit more about appeasing for my returning players. And you see I have a drill for 15-minute serving progression, so they're just getting the ball over the net with a fundamental serving drill. One of my coaching philosophies is choosing to focus on passing and serving, so I chose to add in another serving drill, even though I had one in there yesterday. You'll see I also made it a bit different. I have a 3-point tournament, so I'll have teams of 4, and they're all going to go back and forth for about 20 minutes playing a little scrimmage game. That's very different than my fundamentals the day before. Then I have some court conditioning. I'm having them running. I'm going to see how they do with stamina. Again, that goes all the way to 7:45. I'm not going to talk about each single point that I'm going to do because this would be a very long video, but that's day 2 of my tryouts. Then day 3, I have a lot more experience drills because this is the 3rd day. They already got taught a bunch of fundamentals my first day, and they now already had a second day full of conditioning, stamina, agility drills. So now I'm going to try to mix that all up together for my last and 3rd day of tryouts, which to me is one of the most important. Another funny thing is that I also include water breaks in there because even though it seems trivial, like you're putting time limits on water break, no, there's not a time limit. It's actually just a reminder. So like I said, it's really easy to overthink how tedious this looks of like, girl, why did you put every minute on your schedule? Why not? I think until you're in it as a coach, you don't really know how much is going to be on your brain. So it's better to be prepared than not prepared and sorry about it afterwards. I promise you it's very, very worth it to create a minute by minute tryout schedule. It does not have to be followed religiously. It just has to be a reminder for you as a coach. So yes, I'm including water breaks in there because that is important to my athlete's health. And sometimes I can get very into the sport and I can forget stuff like that. So why not add in a little water break in there? But I did just talk to you for a very long time, so let's try to wrap up some key takeaways of what I've taught you in this YouTube video of creating your volleyball tryout plan. So my first key point takeaway is going to be figuring out your tryout schedule. So that means communicating with your athletic director about how many days of tryouts is it going to be, what is the timeline of the day for it, is it mixed grades or is it double sessions? All those very important questions you need to know first and foremost so you can start creating your tryout schedule. My second key point takeaway is going to be figuring out your coaching philosophy. And that's, again, one of the most important things in my opinion, because how are you going to create a program with a culture that fits what you want to do for that school as a coach if you don't even know what that is? So set yourself up for success. Think about what is important to you. It could be focusing on winning a championship if that's what your goal is, or it could be creating a really safe space for kids to love and learn about a sport, but also get stronger mentally and physically. Try to remember to add in something simple, like I as a coach want to prioritize setting over anything else because that is most important to me. My third key takeaway is going to be creating that timeline on a writing document. So like I just taught us, we're going to be doing 3 o'clock to 3:15 sign in, adding in water breaks, making sure you have exact how long you want to do drills for, etc. So that's just creating that timeline, and then you can start adding in those drills and adjusting things like, actually, I don't want to serve for an hour, I want to serve for 20 minutes instead. Those kind of things. My fourth key takeaway is going to be making sure you hit those 4 key points of volleyball at least once during your tryouts. And I say at least very lightly because it should be much more than that. So you're making sure you have a passing drill, a serving drill, a setting drill, and a hitting drill. You can also add in a blocking drill, but that is, again, for more experienced players. You have to remember who you are creating a tryout for. Which brings me into my 5th and final key takeaway, which is making sure you're matching your school's programs experience level. So, to keep it simple, brand new teams, you're going to teach them fundamentals. Very experienced teams that you're going into, you're going to push their skills. Your tryout schedule doesn't have to look exactly like mine. It could just be a timeline that you're following with your coaching philosophy. And if it works for you, then that works great. But my biggest thing that I'm trying to put out there is that creating a schedule makes your life so much easier during a really hectic time like tryouts, when it's the very beginning of a season. Emotions are high, energy is high, and there's a lot to manage as one head coach. So set yourself up for success and get a tryout schedule going. Whether you follow my exact method or not, get one written out for you so that way you can make sure you and your team will have a really good season from choosing the correct players through your tryout schedule. If you have any other questions, you can let me know in the comments down below. I would love to help you guys out. But if not, I am very active on my socials, TikTok and Instagram, and I hope to see you in another video. If not, bye.